about sports. Because growing up, I didn't know a lot how to communicate with others. My way to communicate was about sports, so I would have conversations with people. So, I did felt like a big man on campus, the BMOC. And on my basketball team, the people gave me the nickname this E-Dog. You know, a lot of people, they don't know what E-Dog means, but it's pretty much just a cool slang word for someone, who's cool to hang out with. I enjoy, all the players enjoy talking to me. And on my team, at my school, there was a no cut policy, so everyone made the team. So even though such players such as myself, we didn't get, an overwhelming amount of playing time, but it was still where I fit in. And then my senior year, I became the manager of the varsity basketball team, and this was so much fun because we had 2 guys on my team that went Division I. One of them played at University of Kentucky, and he won a national championship there. So it was fun to hang around with them. And another kid played at University of Florida, and now he's playing professionally in France. So where I was the summer of 2008, after my 3 years I graduated high school in 2009, and I was going into my senior year. So yeah, here was a picture of me playing basketball. So my senior year, I received one of the most flattering achievements of my entire life. I was named the Outstanding Senior of the Year, and I happened to have graduated with a 3.9 GPA. So let me tell you something, these doctors who originally diagnosed me and said that I would have to go to community college and continue to go through all this support, I proved them all wrong, that I was able to achieve academic success. And this leads to the summer of 2008. My father, he got in contact with the Autism Foundation in Alexandria, Virginia. And as I mentioned a few times in this presentation so far, that it was always my dream to go to college at Pace University and to live in New York. So he contacted this foundation and he asked, do you know of any programs within the New York City area? And I remember, I think about Hunter College and then Pace University. So my dad was like, wow, it's like God was listening to me. We had no idea that Pace was starting this brand new program in the fall of 2009. And it was called BOSS, Built on Special Strengths. I believe it. Yeah. And this is when we got in contact with Diane Zager. And then I remember for the very first time when I met Diane, it was a summer day, the end of August. We met at Starbucks. And right then and there, I felt like Diane was like an aunt to me. I felt so comfortable, and yeah. And then another thing I wanted to say about, one of my dreams, why I love New York. I mean, who doesn't love New York? All the amazing culture there, the amazing cuisines, the skyscrapers, I love all that, Central Park, all the museums. I'm a diehard New York sports fan, Yankees, Knicks, Giants, and Rangers. And just this past Saturday night, I went ice skating in Central Park, and it was beautiful with all the skyscrapers in the background, and it's a nice cold night. It was like 19 degrees. So, I would just like to read you one of my writings I wrote back when I was going into college for a college essay. I just wanted to read this really quickly. It goes as, overcoming Asperger's has been a big challenge for me. I was diagnosed when I was 13 years old. Who knew what the future would be? Would I be able to succeed? Would I be able to get into college? I was a very quiet kid who did not have a lot of friends or know a lot of people. I felt like an outcast, and it was hard for me to talk to people and make new friends. I was known as the quiet kid when I was young. I used to sit in the corner and isolate myself because I felt like I was different. Despite these obstacles, I have always been a tremendous believer in myself, and my drive keeps me going because I always try my hardest and live to the fullest. My school, American Academy, has been a huge catalyst for me. Having small classes has been tremendous for my growth because I get a lot of attention and much extra support. Also, my teachers throughout my 4 years in high school have been tremendous for me. They have been so caring, helping me out with everything, and they always encourage me to work to my fullest potential. Back in my freshman year, I had to do a speech for my English class, and it was the first speech that I had done. I was extremely nervous because I knew that I would be terrified to have to talk about a topic for over 3 minutes. Hence, now I'm speaking for about an hour. I've come a long way. But due to my awesome teacher, I was able to overcome my fear. He taught me not to be nervous, talking in front of a group of people. After giving that first speech, I had the confidence to talk to people and also to speak to a group, to ask questions and not be afraid. If it were not for that teacher, I would have never learned how to give a speech and how to speak in a group. American Heritage, American Academy is such a small school that I got to know pretty much everyone around campus. This has enabled me to become more outgoing and confident. It has been a big key for my success of overcoming all my weaknesses, such as my shyness, my quietness, and fear of asking questions. I have played basketball the past 2 years at school, and I enjoy being in an activity that I love with a passion. I have made so many friends by participating in basketball. I feel like I'm very social now because of basketball and other clubs. I know so many people around school, and I'm excited about all the new people I will meet in college. Now with the skills and confidence that I have gained, I know I will succeed. Who knew back when I was first diagnosed with Asperger's when I was 13 years old if I would be able to go to a 4-year university? The difficulties I have faced because of my Asperger's has given me the determination I need to overcome anything in life. I have come a long way from that little boy my parents took to the doctors. The personal growth I have experienced since that time has convinced me that all of my hopes and dreams are within reach and will come true. My aspirations and hopes for my college experience are to get a great education and to succeed in life. My aspiration is to become the CEO of Goldman Sachs someday. Obviously, that's not going to happen now. Also, I want to make a lot of new friends, especially lifetime friends. So, I just wanted to read that to you guys because I wrote this. It was September 4th of 2008, so I was only 17 years old. You know, all my dreams and what I was thinking of when I was only 17. So you get a sense of that. Also now, I told my parents I wanted to do this, but I just wanted to acknowledge my mom sitting right over here, Sarah Kirschner, and my dad, Ronald Kirschner, who's sitting in the back. He's actually filming me as we speak. I don't know where I would be today without the love, support, and guidance they've given me. It's true, a parent's job is never easy. And they definitely lived up to that. So now, here comes my transition. When I moved to the Big Apple, when I moved to New York, I call these the greatest years of my life. So next, please allow me to tell you about my transition from grade school to my big move to college and making my dream happen in New York City. These were the good years. Well, I mean, it was great for me. I was never homesick at all. People used to ask me, you know, because they knew I came from such a long distance away, coming from Fort Lauderdale, about 1,400 miles away to New York. Were you ever homesick? How was your transition? But no, I felt like I was a native New Yorker right away. Being that my dad, he grew up in the Bronx, and I have an uncle who lives in Queens, I used to go to New York at least once a year, and I fell in love with the city and everything that it had to offer. and I memorized all the subway lines, the different 26 subway lines. And my uncle, he's 67 years old right now, and he's been living in New York for 62 out of his 67 years. So when I still lived in Florida, he used to call me all the time to ask me about different train lines to take, how to get to Penn Station, how to get to the Upper East Side. So I informed him. But nevertheless, throughout my college experience, everything wasn't glamorous for me. It wasn't, I did have a few obstacles. And my freshman year, I was a finance major originally. And Diane and my mom and dad could tell you, I struggled a little bit. I had about a 2.9 GPA at the end of my freshman year, and the finance classes were only going to be getting more difficult and harder. And you got to take a lot of accounting classes and math classes, so I ended up switching to communication studies and marketing. And also, I did have this one, he wasn't a nice professor. I remember my first day of class, I showed him my accommodation letter, and one of them I was entitled to achieve a note taker because, my language processing disorder, sometimes it takes a while for me to write down and process things, and my handwriting, could be a little better. And I remember he said to me, "Eric, it doesn't look like you're blind to me." So, that was just one bad obstacle, one bad, thing I had to face, and everything in life isn't perfect. So I ended up dropping that class to keep a story short. So, as I mentioned that I loved extracurricular activities, being involved campus life. I was an orientation leader, so I supervised and guided groups of 10 to 15 new students. We had about 8 sessions for incoming freshmen. We had a bunch of transfer orientations. And one of my favorite memories that I've always had after that I know I achieved my job, because during orientation one time, there was this one girl, her name was Jamie, and she looked down, and down about herself when she was at orientation. And with me, I never let anyone try to be down. So I spoke with her for a little bit, and I asked her, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I don't know if I'm ready to go away to college, to be on my own." So I sat down next to her, and I told her about different extracurricular activities around my campus and different ways to meet new friends. And then this girl, Jamie, she ended up sending me a Facebook message at the end of that school year in May. And she said, "Eric, I don't know what I would have done without you. You helped, me transition to college great, and I had a great freshman year." So that's when I know I did my job successfully. And also that summer, because that was the first summer I stayed in New York for the entire year, so I ended up making it to 1/4 of all the home Yankee games. So the Bronx knew me very well that summer. Like I said, I took pride in reaching out to new students to offer my help and becoming more confident in themselves. And that, as you can see from my words, how I describe this experience, this proved to be one of my best summers of my entire life, because I made so many friendships, and I was part of a family, and that family was the orientation leader family. In addition to being a peer leader, I was also the president of my dorm. You hear the word president, and I know this is just the State of the Union speech 2 days ago. So as president of my dorm, my junior year, I was involved with facilitating weekly meetings about what the students wanted. My main goal was to try to build a better sense of community, because going to college in New York, you don't really get that out of college. Not like, University of Florida, where you have that sense of community and play, and people take pride in, athletics. So it was one of the main things I wanted to establish in my dorm hall that year. And also I was a peer leader, where I was involved with, pretty much to put it in a simple way, I was a professor's assistant, where I made up different curricular plans to help transition students to living in New York and to have a successful college experience. It was a University 101 class where it was a mandatory class all freshmen had to take to graduate. Yeah, as I just spoke about that, I mentored underclassmen regarding extracurricular activities in campus life. And I spoke about my dorm room experience already, that I was planning events to help establish a sense of community for students. And one of my events that I ended up planning was a potluck event. And being that I'm an avid sports fan, we had a potluck when the Giants played the Philadelphia Eagles one time. So we had, everyone brought in food and it was a great event. That's one of many events I planned. So, and during my college experience, I got to intern at two of New York's most iconic organizations. And the first one was the Metropolitan Transit Authority. I was in the corporate communications department, so I would communicate with our customers on user friendliness, and if they had any questions, I would answer it back or bring it up to my supervisor or any problems. And one of the big perks I loved about that, who doesn't, I had a free transit pass for 5 months. So I saved a lot of money on those Metro cards. And I got to intern at the NYSE, the big board, the New York Stock Exchange. And this was a dream come true for me because as I mentioned about some of my things that I used to obsess about, one was with stocks. I used to do a lot of trading, and when I was younger, I used to watch CNBC all the time. That was the first thing that I would do when I would get home in the morning, when I would wake up in the morning before school. And also when I would get home, I would watch The Closing Bell with, I don't know how many of you guys know Maria Bartiromo. She's one of the CNBC news anchors. And then Bob Pisani and Jim Cramer. Funny story about Jim Cramer, he used to be at Starbucks right on the corner of on the main floor. So one time I saw Jim Cramer, and I watched Mad Money a lot, and he always goes, "Booyah." So I said to Jim when I saw him, I said, "Hey Jim, how's it going? Booyah." And he said, "Booyah" right back to you. I never thought he would do that to me. How am I doing on time? I'm almost done. I'm good? Okay. So here I am right over here. This is actually on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And I was actually at a networking event there on the floor. So today, I said that, that the number of individuals with autism is 1 in every 68, and that number is only going to increase within the next couple of years. So after graduation, there was little help in looking for jobs. All of these college graduates are left with autism, jobless. This is something that needs to change now. And my goal someday, I'm still brainstorming that I want to try to help this change for all my other peers who are on the spectrum and who have just graduated and are left jobless. Because there's all these programs for individuals with autism, and you get the individualized support. But once you graduate, you're just left out there. There's a number like, what now? What are you supposed to do? You're like starting over, and it's so competitive in this job market. But to add on, if you have Asperger's or autism, it changes it to a whole new level. So since I've graduated, I volunteered at this organization in New York called LDA NYSC, Learning Disabilities Association of New York City. And I used to teach. I was a volunteer. I wasn't getting paid. I taught different individuals how to use Microsoft Office because I couldn't find a job for 6 months until I got H&R Block. That was January 2014 for tax season. But currently right now, I'm working part-time, temporary with Autism Speaks. So I have this symbol on right now, which I'm proud to wear on my chest. I'm in the special events department, and I do a lot of the administration work for Autism Speaks. And as I'm sure most of you know, that Autism Awareness Month is coming up in April. So there's hundreds of events that my department is planning now. And also, I work game nights for the New York Islanders, so that's been a fun experience for me. But my motivation has always kept my spirits high during some of the dark times, even though I have yet to attain that career job. I have still been networking and would never give up until I reach my dream job. So at 23 years old, I am living my dream in the bright lights of New York City. I'm proud to say that I have Asperger Syndrome, as it has helped shape the man who I am today. I'm currently interning in the Special Events Department at Autism Speaks. I hope to make life-changing impacts on thousands of kids and adults on the spectrum and become a motivational speaker someday, to become an advocate. I'm having genuine confidence in myself. I know that others out there, such as myself, can achieve anything they set their minds to. I truly believe that people on the spectrum are some of the brightest individuals in our society and can offer so much in the workforce and in life. My advice to anyone on the spectrum is to never give up and reach for the stars. So now, where I'm going right now, it's impossible to predict the future. No one can do it. Can't believe I'm going to be 24 already. I used to want to plan, like where I'm going to be in 5 years. Now I'm like, time needs to slow down. So where I'm going, here's a picture of persistence. Persistence is the key to anything in life, to going into the future. You got to have that persistence. You got to have that drive. So I cannot predict the future, but I have in my possession a paradigm that would get me to wherever I want to go. Allow me to share it with you. Life is a struggle. Life will throw curveballs at you. It will humble you. It will attempt to break you down. And just when you think things are starting to look up in life, life will smack you back down with ruthless indifference. The reason, in my opinion, the reason most people might never achieve their dreams is because they simply give up. Life was never meant to be easy. It's a constant struggle with extreme lows and extreme highs. Remember though, that the times when it's most important to persevere are the times that you will be most tested. So I hope that all of you guys leave today, you've enjoyed my story and that, that there is hope in life for people on the spectrum. So I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak today and listening to me to tell my story, because this has been a true honor, and I hope to do this in the future, to speak at much more other conferences to other educators like yourself.